Do you ever finish a coding tutorial and the next day you feel like you have forgotten half of it? Or maybe you asked ChatGPT to explain something, you completely understood it, and then a few days later, it's gone. Good. No, seriously, good. Because forgetting doesn't mean you are failing. In fact, I would actually be more worried if you remembered everything. I know that sounds completely backwards, but it took me 4 attempts to learn JavaScript before I finally understood why. For years, I thought I was learning the wrong language. I wasn't. I was learning the wrong way. Maybe you've convinced yourself you have a bad memory. I know I did. Growing up, history was my worst subject. I would memorize everything for the exam just to forget most of it a week later and convince myself that maybe I just wasn't good at learning. So when I started learning JavaScript and I kept forgetting syntax, I thought, here we go again. Programming probably just isn't for me. But looking back, forgetting was never the problem. The problem was the way I was measuring progress. And once I realized that, everything changed. The way I learned, the way I build projects, the way I use AI today, and I want to show you why. The reframe. Here's what finally clicked for me. I had been treating programming the same way I treated history. I thought becoming a better developer meant remembering more. More syntax, more methods, more functions, more frameworks. But programming doesn't work like history. Programming isn't a memory game, it's a problem-solving game. Think about maths for a second. You don't learn maths by memorizing the answer to every problem you might ever see. You learn the rules, you understand how they work, and then you use them to solve problems you've never seen before. Programming works exactly the same way. You don't become a better developer because you remember more code. You become a better developer because you understand the fundamentals well enough to figure everything else out as you go. That's when I stopped asking myself, can I remember this? And started asking, do I actually understand this? That one question changed the way I learn forever. Because if I understand something, I can always figure it out again, even if I forget the syntax tomorrow. And this is exactly why I want you to be careful with AI. Not because AI is bad. I think AI is one of the best things that has ever happened to developers. I use it every single day. It saves me hours, it helps me brainstorm, it catches bugs, it explains code, it makes me much faster as a developer. But there's one thing it can never, ever do for you. It cannot do the understanding for you. And I learned that lesson the hard way. A few months ago, I had a task at work that was estimated to take about a week. Instead of sitting down, understanding the requirements and planning my solution, I thought, why not let AI do most of it? So I gave it the documentation, the requirements, everything it needed. And within minutes, it generated hundreds of lines of code. Honestly, it felt incredible. I remember looking at it and thinking, this is amazing. Maybe this is how development works now. And maybe you've had that feeling too. AI builds something, it works, you test it, everything seems fine, so you move on. I did exactly that, and it turned into one of the most uncomfortable moments of my career. The consequences. At first, I convinced myself everything was fine. The feature worked, the UI looked correct, and here's the worst part. I had already wasted the first few days procrastinating. So by the time I realized how messy this had become, I didn't have another week to start over. I cleaned up what I could, made sure the feature worked, and submitted it. But deep down, I knew something was not right. AI had modified more than 25 files. Some of them had nothing to do with the task. There was duplicated logic, repeated functions, unnecessary comments, and although I tried to review everything, I simply didn't understand all of it. Then the code review started. Maybe you've experienced that feeling when someone asks you a question about your own work and you suddenly realize you don't actually know the answer. Every comment on that pull request felt like a punch in the stomach. Then came the demo. My managers started asking completely normal questions. Why did you choose this approach? What happens if this value changes? Why is this logic here? They were just asking me to explain my own work. And I couldn't. Not because I wasn't a developer, because I never truly understood what I had built. That day taught me one sentence I will probably remember for the rest of my career. Never own code you don't understand. Because the moment your name is attached to that code, it's your responsibility and not AI's. Yours. And that's when I changed the way I use AI forever. Today, I still let AI write code, for sure. Sometimes hundreds of lines, but I never let it replace the thinking. Because AI can write your code, but it can't build your understanding. The proof. Let me give you one more example. Imagine you've spent months learning. You've built a really impressive project. You finally get invited to an interview. The interviewer opens your project, looks at your code, smiles, and then asks one simple question. Can you explain why you built it this way? If that question scares you, this part is for you. Not long ago, I interviewed someone for a full stack position. We gave him a small take-home assignment, nothing crazy, just a simple dashboard fetching data from a backend. When I opened his project, I was genuinely impressed. The code looked clean, modern, professional. Honestly, I remember thinking there's no way someone with only a few years of experience wrote this piece of code. So I invited him to the next interview and I asked him something incredibly simple. Can you walk me through why you chose this approach? He couldn't. So I asked another question. How much of this project was AI and how much of it was you? And thankfully, he was honest. Most of it came from AI. And that's when it hit me. I wasn't interviewing his code, I was interviewing his understanding. I didn't reject him because he used AI, I rejected him because he couldn't explain the code that had his name on it. The bigger picture. And this is why I think so many people are having the wrong conversation about AI. I constantly see comments saying AI is replacing developers anyway, so what's the point of learning properly? I honestly don't think that's fear. I think sometimes it's an excuse to stop trying, because here's the reality. AI will keep getting better. The tools will keep changing, and 5 years from now, we will probably be using tools we can't even imagine today. But one thing hasn't changed in decades and won't change in another decade. Companies don't hire people because they can generate code. They hire people because they can solve problems. Because when production breaks at 2 in the morning, when the AI gives the wrong answer, when something completely unexpected happens, someone still has to understand what's going on. Programming isn't a memory game. It's a problem-solving game. And problem-solving starts with what? Understanding. Not memorization, not prompting, understanding. What to do instead. So, what should you actually do? The next time you finish a tutorial, don't start another one. Close it, open a blank project, and try to build something from memory. You will forget things. Good. Google them, ask AI, read the documentation. That's totally fine. But every single time, ask yourself one question. Do I understand why this works? And here's the easiest way to test yourself. Try to explain your code without looking at AI. Why is this function here? What does this variable contain? What would happen if I removed this? If you can't explain it yet, that's okay. That's not proof that you're stupid, that's your learning roadmap. Go back, understand that part, then keep building. Not can I repeat it, but can I explain it? Because that's the moment learning actually happens. You don't become a developer by watching someone else solve problems. You become a developer by struggling through your own problems. That's exactly why building projects teaches you way more than 10 tutorials ever will. If you forget something tomorrow, I hope you stop seeing it as a failure. I hope you see it as an invitation to understand it more deeply. Because the goal was never to remember everything. The goal was to understand enough to figure everything else out. That's what real developers do. Not because they have perfect memories, but because they've built strong foundations. And that's something AI cannot replace. So if you've been doubting yourself lately, thinking maybe you're not smart enough or maybe programming just is not for you, I hope this video changed the way you see that. Keep building, keep practicing, keep getting stuck. because every bug you solve, every project you finish, and every concept you finally understand is another brick in the foundation you are building. And trust me, that foundation will outlast every AI tool that comes after it. Now, if you're thinking, okay, Pete, so how should I actually learn coding? Go watch this video next. I will show you exactly how I would learn programming if I had to start all over again today. Thanks for watching, you legends. I'm Pete, and I'll see you over there.